Oh, Mr. Chase. There is, sir, just one more thing.
With you, Lieutenant, there's always just one more thing. Do you have a problem with short-term memory? Perhaps you should consult a physician.
Welcome to the Columbo Confab podcast. This is Steve.
And this is Sean. And for a second there, Steve, I thought you forgot the name of our podcast.
I almost did, yes. It doesn't come out very easily. There's a lot of, I don't know, syllables or something. I don't know.
Well, we could name it something different, but there's so many other fucking Columbo podcasts out there. No, it's okay. We're fine with them. Okay, so this week we are going to be talking about Butterfly in Shades of Grey.
Whoa. I thought we were watching 50 Shades of Grey.
And this is why we no longer have that many listeners, Steve. This is why somebody left us a 2-star review on the podcast app on iTunes.
Because we don't review adult films, I see.
Well, is 50 Shades of Grey an adult film? Is that right? Have you ever seen that movie?
Actually, I did for this podcast, yes.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I haven't seen it.
Oh, we're going to watch Butterfly in Shades of Grey. Yeah,
I think Butterflies in Shades of Grey is probably a better viewing experience than 50 Shades of Grey. Could be wrong.
I am willing to bet you are right. Yes, I will put money on that. But before we started recording this, you asked why they call it Butterfly in Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And I think it refers to the daughter, Vicky, being the butterfly in question. She can't get out and become free and be beautiful because her father, who has the great name of Fielding Chase, is holding her back. And thus she is a butterfly, a gray butterfly, as opposed to a beautiful, beautiful butterfly, as Brad Dourif says in Alien Resurrection.
Okay, that's I thought my 50 Shades of Grey movie reference was odd, but that's even stranger. Okay. I see what you're saying there about the title, but I just don't really think that's it. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Are they trying to be artsy-fartsy with the titles now in later Columbo episodes?
I don't know. No, this is the only one that's a little bit, like, off. All the rest of them are just, right up front. Columbo goes to college.
Still haven't seen that one.
Ashes to Ashes. Yeah, we haven't gone to that one yet. Columbo likes them. You kind of know what it's about, but anyway, what is this one about?
This one's about Rush Limbaugh, apparently.
Okay, all right.
Or actually, Fielding Chase, played by the infamous William Shatner.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how we have these episodes that clearly they're kind of like implying real famous people like Hugh Hefner or Steven Spielberg or in this case Rush Limbaugh, or pick your favorite controversial talk show host. But I think it's interesting that they don't mention that he's conservative, but it's pretty clear that he is.
Oh yeah, I think if Fielding Chase was doing a radio show today, he'd probably side on to Trump, more than likely.
Oh God, yes. Oh, he's definitely a Trumpkin. I think the only thing that he says though that's like overtly conservative is when he talks about the ozone layer. So
yes, I like that. Yeah.
It's interesting because there's been a couple other episodes where we have candidates running for office, and the show kind of like stays away from saying which party they're running for. There's one with a senator in the 70s, and there's another one in the 90s involving a presidential candidate who's not the murderer, but it's somebody else. But
you ruined it.
This is sorry. This is the closest that they've ever come to political territory. Anyway, William Shatner plays a fucking dick named Fielding Chase,
which he does. He does wonderfully, by the way.
So this is probably. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, there was another one he did. And in my mind, I got the two confused. I can't remember the title of the last William Shatner one.
Fade into Murder.
Yeah. So I got those in my mind. A lot of like plot points I thought were in this one. Actually, in fact, were in the previous. But.
They actually have. It's kind of like George Hamilton with the cigarettes. They actually do have a similar clue involving pancake makeup.
Yes, that's right.
Because the first one he was in, I think it was the fact that there was pancake makeup on the mask that gave him away, because he was an actor. And here, the pancake makeup is used to try to frame somebody else and fails dismally. So.
Right. So we start the episode with a dinner between Lou, which is, I guess, some kind of publisher. He's not a publisher, but he works for a publisher.
Maybe an agent.
A
literary agent.
Yeah. Englander, I think, is the name of the publishing company. But so he's having dinner with Jerry, who we find out is going to be the victim, and they're having a discussion about Victoria's book that she wrote. We never really quite understand what the topic was about, but I got the impression it was about her father. Didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Or maybe it was semi-autobiographical, and she implies that there's a character that's supposed to be him or something. Yeah.
But why would she want her father to read that? And about halfway in, she's like, "Well, here, I'm going to put a copy of it on your nightstand so you can read it." If it was scandalous, I wouldn't think she would want him to read that.
I don't know. I probably didn't. I don't know. That's a good question. It was probably written in such a way that it was like, maybe he wouldn't be able to tell because he was so into himself that the character was actually him or something. I don't know. It's hard. I have no answer. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, the guy who played Lou, the agent, he played Larry in Three's Company.
Oh my God, that's right. I knew him from somewhere. It was driving me crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Cool.
And then
I
Jerry,
love stuff like that.
Yeah, and Jerry, I recognize his face, but I can't place him. I didn't.
I actually looked him up. He is. I don't remember the actor's name, but he was in nothing that I recognized. But I think that my brain was triggering Tony Shalhoub from Monk. He was sort of a younger Tony Shalhoub.
Interesting. I can see that, sure.
By the way, can I just say something? Jerry is gay. First gay, other than Kay Freestone. Well, no, I don't think she was gay. But first openly gay character in Columbo, unless you count the hairdresser in that one. But can I just say that for a gay man, he had the worst taste in household decorations. Did you see his house?
I thought it was quite nice. Yeah.
Well, okay, so he's got sort of a regular house, fireplace, all that, and right there in the middle of his living room is a jukebox. And I kind of thought, well, that jukebox, it's going to come up somewhere somehow. And then on top of his console TV set, it's okay, it was 1990-something, he has a neon parrot, like something that would hang up in a bar for, like, rum or something. Yeah.
Maybe the writer thought that's how gay men lived. I have no idea. But Jerry did get around. They were talking about, he fooled around with Murray and Ted and some others. Yeah. So the guy definitely enjoyed his lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah. And then speaking of sleeping around, how about the relationship between Fielding Chase and his daughter?
Yeah, that was kind of borderline
gross.
Yeah, because you find out at one point that Fielding Chase fell in love with this woman. I guess they broke up for whatever reason. He regretted her ever walking out on him, and over time, she gets married. Her husband dies. Fielding Chase, being the creepy guy he is, came back into her life to try to take her back. Found out she had terminal cancer, but they had a daughter together, Victoria, and he promised he would take care of her, which I was under the impression that the mother and the daughter looked a lot alike.
Okay, why is that? Oh, yeah, oh, I know why. Yeah,
well, because of the painting, and I don't know, that was just the impression I got. So I think secretly why it wasn't sexual relationship. I still think he loved her so much because Victoria reminded him of her mother so much.
I agree with you, and I also think that there was a little bit of a carnal thing going there, and it's implied in a couple scenes, and it's done very well. I mean, there's a scene where he kisses her on the hand a little bit too passionately. The fact that he has like at least 2 beautiful portraits of her hanging in his house. Did you notice that?
I thought that was the her mother. Okay.
You know what? I watched it. I think that's her. It could be the mom. I don't know.
Very Weinstein-esque, yes.
Or perhaps a very Woody Allen-esque.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But
so
Fielding Chase, he's a radio show host, late night radio show host, very conservative, and he just kind of talks to the average Joe, I guess. He makes fun of them, which I don't know how he gets away with making fun of his audience, but there was one call from Margaret in Blossom, Texas, and she was afraid of the hole in the Antarctic. Are we even worried about that anymore? I haven't heard about that.
You know what? I haven't. Now we just call it global warming, and I heard somewhere that the ozone was shrinking or that the hole was shrinking, but yeah. And then we have the guy calling about, I want to talk about Harry Truman, who sounds exactly like Jim Dial from the old Murphy Brown show. And I really did look up to see whose voice that was, but it wasn't on IMDb. But did you also notice that in his office, the only pieces of art that he has in his office, the studio, are pictures of himself? Clearly, Fielding Chase really, really loves himself, and this one probably has my favorite reveal of a motive of any Columbo, because they have a fight in the lobby of a hotel. And Chase slaps Jerry across the face, and a whole room full of people go, "Ooh!" So it's like, well, okay.
Well, even
that's going to be.
He even says, "I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
That's not good. You shouldn't have said that.
I really do think if he hadn't been caught for murder by the end of the episode, somebody else would have killed Chase, because this guy was a real grade A asshole.
Yeah. I don't know. He said he had a lot of enemies. I was under the impression he was probably believing his own hype at some point.
Yeah, that's true.
But
from what he does later on, I think to the senator or the governor or whoever from out east, what he does to that guy, that would be enough to kill him right there. I mean, if I was that guy, I'd probably. He basically ruins someone's career with lies, just so he can have a sensationalist radio show.
Yeah, and in that scene, Chase is just staring at him. He almost looks gleeful as he's watching the senator squirm. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, there's a scene where the senator has an assistant, right? This redhead. Mm-hmm. Now, she's walking around with a cane. I thought that was a weird... Like, did they hire the actress and then she had an accident skiing the weekend before? I mean, I just thought it was odd that she was limping around.
I noticed that too, and I have nothing against people with canes. It's actually kind of cool, but it's not like it's like an old man with a cane or an old woman with a cane. I'll bet you, she probably just fell down and went boom and into a cane.
But there was a scene where during the part where Chase has that call come in, that what do you call it? The type of call that's somebody that he's hired to call in.
Oh, like an informant or a fake call, a setup call?
Yeah, setup call. Yeah, let's call it that. And he starts asking the questions about the actress, the porn actress. And you can see the redhead, because she's behind a glass wall, and she mouths the word, "son of a bitch."
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So you can't hear it, which I guess is how it got through the people in charge of watching that kind of stuff. Make sure it doesn't get on TV. But yeah, you can see what she's saying. It's so funny.
And what's so cool about that is if this was a bad episode, that would seem like, and I guess I'm showing my hand right now. I like this. Is that if this was a bad episode, we would think that scene was just complete fluff. But it was perfect. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. It got the point across, and it's just perfect that in the next scene or two, Vicky basically leaves him. She packs her bags and she walks out, just like those two ladies walked out on who was that skeezy painter remember that one?
Yeah, I remember
Carcini.
that one.
No, Barcini, not Carcini. Yeah.
There is a Carcini, but that's a different episode.
Yeah, that's a different guy. Maybe they're related. I don't think so, but yeah.
So I don't know if we went into the detail about the relationship between Victoria and Fielding. So she's a foster daughter, and she wants to write this book, and Jerry is, I guess, got the ear of some agents, and they think the book's really good. They want to publish it, and of course, when Fielding Chase finds out about this, he calls his friend at the publishing company and has the book rejected. And so, Jerry, that upsets Jerry quite a bit, which is what causes the confrontation between the two.
And what's really interesting is that, oh no, he has read it. That's right. She gives him a copy and leaves it on his nightstand. So okay, yeah. So maybe he does realize it's about him, and okay.
Yeah. So he calls Jerry, and I love that he tells Jerry that I just want to make things right. You beat me on this one. I just want to get the most that I can out of this relationship. Let's talk. I promise you, it'll be something you won't be disappointed with, or will be happy with, or something like that. I think he's going to kill him. Why would he be happy about that? I thought that was a kind of he's a liar. I think the program is trying to tell us he just lies to get his way.
Yeah,
like he did with the senator.
Yeah. So he has this scheme where he tells Larry to call him at 4:00 on the dot, and then he basically sneaks into Larry's house with a key that he stole from his daughter's keychain.
Right.
And then while Larry is, Larry. Well, he looks like a Larry. That's why I keep calling him Larry.
Lou.
Lou. Well, Jerry. It's okay. Jerry. Well, Jerry's on the phone calling him, and the answering machine picks up. What I just laughed is that when Shatner picks up the phone, I should call him Fielding Chase, but I can't help it. I'm sorry. When William Shatner picks up the phone, the way that he acts, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was outside. I just heard the phone ring." He acts the most it seems like he's doing a William Shatner impersonation at that moment. And he's just like hamming it up so much. And so then he shoots Jerry on the phone, so it looks like, so he gets an alibi. And so it looks like Jerry is at home talking to him while Fielding is at home, and Jerry's shot. Anyway, because he knows he's got a perfect motive and everybody knows about it. And then I caught this. I don't know if I subconsciously remembered it because I hadn't watched this in a really long time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now call the police. You've got to call the police right now. Call the police. No, he waits. He waits a little bit too long to call the police. He waits till he's in his car and calls them on his cell phone, which later becomes his undoing. But
yeah, that's the major clue. There's actually a few major clues, but that's the big one. So cell phones. When was this recorded, by the way? I should ask first.
That's a research question, and research is off today. Today's a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The maid didn't come in to help you with that. Okay.
Yeah. This was in late 90s, though. This is late 90s because it's one of the last ones. So.
Okay. So cell phones were widely in use at this point. But there was a scene where the cops arrive on the murder scene, and Columbo is called in, and he walks in. He starts talking to whatever police officer, and he starts goes into this dialogue about getting a cell phone. And there's certain times, this being one of them, but there's other times where it feels like Peter Falk is like, I'm just going to improvise and just go with it. I'm just gonna talk. I'm gonna give Columbo, some character. And it just felt like that's what this was. That one scene where he's talking to this police officer about getting cancer and going on, and the police officer's laughing, like he has no lines to say. So they're just rifting off each other. Did you get that impression?
That's quite possible. It's either that or Falk is an excellent actor, and of course he's been playing the character for 20 odd years. But yeah, you're right.
We got to hear the whole story about why he thinks cell phones are not good, and about his wife and his cousin Dominic, and just all over.
Yeah, Dominic comes up again later, but I don't know what that was. I find that interesting. I remember I don't know why I just thought of this. This is a tangent. I remember reading a book by Stephen King called Cell, which is about people turning into ravenous zombies while they're talking on their cell phones. Like something happens and everybody at that given point in time turns into a zombie. Not a literal zombie, but more like 28 days later kind of. And in the foreword, Stephen King wrote that he still does not own a cell phone, that he hates cell phones.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's changed now, because they're no longer just cell phones. I mean, a phone is everything. I mean, you wake up by it, you listen to music by it. A lot of people read books by it. You check your email by it.
And Facebook spies on you with it. It's just that's all over. I don't know if you've noticed online. There's a lot of articles about Facebook.
I know. It just takes your information and your contacts, and
No, apparently it listens in on your conversations. There's been a couple of people experimenting with it, and it seems to be true. But whatever. I hate Facebook. So, Oh, Sean, can you hold on a second? There's somebody at the door.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take so long. No one was there. I guess it was Mrs. Columbo.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What?
And in this episode, we actually see him have an imaginary conversation with Mrs. Columbo. Oh, there is. Okay, speaking of Dominic, there's a scene a little bit later on where he's talking to Chase. I think it's in the restaurant, which is a really good scene between them. And he says, I found this magazine, and I wonder if you could sign it. It's for my cousin Dominic. Mm-hmm. It'd make him so happy. He doesn't have much of a life. And I thought that was like a perfect dig at Fielding Chase.
It was,
like,
yeah.
You're just such a fucking asshole.
And then he tells Chase, he goes, well, you signed it Dominic. And he goes, and put your name down there too, please.
He probably has a whole collection of autographs on the wall at home of murderers. That he well, I've got Alex Benedict over here, Nora Chandler, Fielding Chase. Yeah. There's no cousin named Dominic.
So there were some weird editing decisions, I thought, but the big one that I definitely want to talk about is Chase's mustache. So it goes from blonde to almost invisible to black, like just completely different haircut.
I bet you that's a lighting thing as opposed to a makeup thing.
Well, I can see going from blonde to almost invisible, but the exterior scenes when he's waiting outside of Jerry's home, it's black. Uh-huh. It's like blacker than black. It's
okay. You're right. I'm watching it right now as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, folks: we're not actually sitting in a room talking about it. We're and I see it now. Not only is it black, but it's longer.
It's longer.
Which just came out wrong.
They gave him a Hitler mustache, I guess. I don't know. I guess that doesn't make much sense because it's shorter. Never mind.
Not a Hitler. No.
Okay, so they go to the funeral home, and I thought it was interesting that Victoria is the only woman there. A bunch of young men are there.
Yes. Well, that's all his gay friends. And you know what? They did something weird here. Okay, they're all wearing red ribbons, which I don't know. Do we have to do that every time someone gay dies, even if they don't die of AIDS? I'm like, why are they all wearing red ribbons?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I don't think...
So, is the red ribbon thing an AIDS awareness thing?
Yeah, kind of like pink is for breast cancer
right.
and blue is for prostate cancer. And right. I mean, I don't think that's really, well, it's still a thing, but it wasn't as big a thing as it was like in the 80s and 90s, obviously. But I just think
this writer had no idea.
Yeah, just like the set people had no idea that gays do not have wood paneling in their homes. That's a no-no.
Well, according to Fielding Chase, those people do have a reputation for unusual behavior.
Oh, that was hilarious. I mean, hilarious and like, oh my gosh, what a douche. I'm loving watching this guy.
I gotta say, I mean, William Shatner, you can say all you want about him, but he's got a great voice. Like when he would talk, it just sounded so great.
Yep. He's not like that in real life. I got to see him in person at a Comic-Con here in Austin a couple of years ago, and he's a little bit into himself. He really is.
Yeah.
He really loves himself. Every time someone would ask a question, he would always refer the answer back to something that he did, like a book that he wrote or a movie that he was in. And I have to say, hands down, I am not a Star Trek fan. Mm-hmm. I've seen pretty much all the movies that he was in. I haven't seen a single episode of the original Star Trek series, though. I know, that's like heresy, but...
Well, he didn't get along with his castmates on that show. Sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, the stories.
Like the guy who plays Sulu, what's his name?
George Takei.
Can you imagine what George Takei was thinking when William Shatner delivered that line about those people?
Well, I was simply shocked. I couldn't believe William would say such a thing.
Oh, my.
Walter Koenig didn't like him either.
Yeah, and Walter Koenig was in the last William Shatner one as a detective.
Yes, he was. That's right. When I saw that, I wondered if it was on purpose. That's weird. That's some wild stuff there.
So I like to keep up the IMDb of the episodes so I can look at character names, actors' names. But at the bottom, you can scroll down to trivia, and one of the trivia things I read this before I watched it. It said that during the workout scene at Chase's house, when he's on the exercise bike.
Oh, when he does his really hot body 5-minute workout?
Yeah.
While he's talking to Columbo?
That they said he's watching TV, and then on the TV you can hear the Star Trek theme song. I guess from the old 60s show.
No.
It was completely wrong. Whoever put that in doesn't know anything.
It was the news, and it was a Smokey the Bandit. Not Smokey the Bandit. I'm thinking of Smokey and the Bandit. Smokey the Bear. It was a wildfire.
Yeah, there was like a news sting intro, like kind of like.
Yeah.
But it had kind of a retros 70 feel to it. But
it did.
It wasn't Star Trek, and I think the person who wrote that was really confused. But I was waiting to hear that. I was so excited to see if they're going to do the Star Trek theme, because that would have been who owns that. Who owns Star Trek? Paramount?
I have no idea.
Columbia? Something like that. Which Columbo's Universal. I just don't think they could have gotten the rights to do that. So that was going to surprise me. But whatever.
That would have been a little bit too meta and a little bit too wink, nudge, nudge for me.
I think so.
So
the driveway at Chase's house, it looks familiar. Have they reused that?
It does. Yes, thank you. It looks like it looks like the same driveway that he has in the old Columbo episode that he was in, Fade into Murder, which is the same driveway that they have in the one with the twins, Double Shock, with Martin Landau. But I think that I think the only thing that they have in common is that it's a circular driveway with maybe a fountain or a garden in the middle. And I love when Columbo pulls in and Chase says to him, do you have any leaks? Do you have any drips? Oh, no, sir. Why do you ask? Well, I'm very particular about the way my driveway looks.
And then you know what Columbo says in response, right?
I can't remember now.
He says, when you got a classic, he's referring to his car, right? He says, when you got a classic, you've got to take care of it. looking at Columbo's car, it's such a piece of trash.
And I really, this is not mentioned at all in the story, but I just can't go without mentioning the funicular, which which is the little. I've never used that word before. I had to look it up. Which is that little car thing that brings visitors from the main house to where he was working out. Yeah.
What's it called?
Which it's called funicular. Funicular. Huh. Like, like when you say, well, it's in the vernacular almost. It's almost like that, but funicular. And I was on one in Alaska that wasn't quite as nice as the one that he has, but it's just weird to have this thing in there that doesn't have anything to do with the story. And how freaking big of a house does he need to have? That's got to be someone's real house. I just can't believe that even with his salary that he could afford it, It's like a freaking movie star house.
And only 2 people live there.
Yeah. Not counting the maid. Yeah, Martha.
Now the name of Columbo's car, the make is a Peugeot.
Yeah, that's correct. 1950 Peugeot.
So I texted you this after seeing Blade Runner, the 2049 sequel.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
And I said there's a Columbo a reference in that. Did you see the new Blade Runner by chance?
I have not.
Okay, well, it's probably too late because Warner Brothers is pulling it from theaters because it did so horribly at box office. Apparently, no one wanted to see it. So,
wait, are you serious? Really?
Yeah. No, it's one of those films. All the critics said this is a great film. Go see it, but no one would go see it.
Man.
So it bombed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would see it, and I heard mediocre things about the story, but I heard that the production quality is like excellent. Like,
oh yeah, it's really good.
Whoever did the set design will probably win an Academy Award type of thing.
Oh, it's beautiful. But anyways, you find out that the Ryan Gosling's hover car is a Peugeot.
Really?
Yeah, that's the make of his flying car.
But I think they still make Peugeots, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but
but
in the movie, I mean, it's just I thought it was funny.
Is he play a detective?
He does, right? Well, he plays a Blade Runner.
Okay.
He plays a police officer that kills the replicants.
Yeah, it's okay. Is it a gray Peugeot?
I don't remember the color. I just remember hearing him talk about his car, and it kind of gave me a smile.
Somebody in Austin had one of those. Not Ryan Gosling's, but Columbo's old Peugeot. I saw it twice, and we're talking about like over 10 years ago, and I haven't seen it since.
But, it's probably not working anymore, I would imagine.
Yeah, I really doubt it's in someone's garage.
So at Jerry's funeral, Columbo's kind of fishing for clues, and he finds out that Victoria has a key. There's only 4 people we find out have this key, and Victoria's the only one that doesn't have an alibi that can be proven. Mm-hmm. So Victoria is telling Columbo about Jerry's last boyfriend, Ted, who works at a TV studio. And out loud I said, no, don't send him to a TV studio. He always screws everything up in a TV studio.
But he does it.
He does. No, he does not disappoint. Every time Columbo's on a movie or a TV studio, he just screws it up.
Yeah, and not only that, but he walks in and somebody mistakes him for an extra playing a homeless guy, which is just that's awesome. And it's funny because in the first William Shatner one from the 70s, he does the exact same thing there. He walks out onto a hot set and the director gets really angry. Yeah, I'm telling you, out of the ones that we've covered, I think he's done that like 3 times now.
And I like how the floor assistant is like gathering all the people and placing them. And he looks at Columbo, looks down at his shoes and goes, "Nice touch with his shoes."
And when he's revealed that he's a cop, the actress, like the main actress, is almost like tickled by it. Like, "Oh, you're a policeman? Really? Okay, bye." And he's like, "My wife loves you."
And he's going, "I'm just looking for Ted." She goes, "What did Ted do?" Like, it's looking for gossip.
The interesting thing about the conversation with Ted is that you can tell the way that Falk does it is just that this is not going to be. It's just going to be a procedure. He knows that Ted isn't the murderer. because he knew that Shatner was the murderer the second that he mentioned that Jerry was shot in the back, along with, the clue about the 4 minutes. And if you watch that carefully, he's just asking questions, like really procedurally, like really boring questions, taking the answers, like, okay, fine, I've got you covered. You didn't do it. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. And every once in a while, you'll see that on the show where there's somebody who's been framed. He goes and talks with them. He knows that they're not the murderer, but he knows he's got to do this just to establish that this person has an alibi or didn't do it or whatever. Yeah. But it's interesting. And I did have one issue, is that the morning or the day that Jerry is killed, he broke up with Ted that morning. Okay. Also, he's only been dating him for 9 days, which
doesn't make what's that?
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
That's not a long-term relationship. That's not. I mean, if I was dating someone for 9 days and they got killed, would I be upset? Yeah, but I wouldn't be. I don't know.
Would you have their house key?
No.
Yeah,
that's a little bit soon. Yeah, if they were lesbians, I could see that, but not gay men.
What?
And
what does that mean?
There go our lesbian liver.
Oh,
there's
God.
this. By the way, inside baseball, folks, I'm gay, so I, just saying. I don't know. I don't mean to be, whatever. But there's this old joke that says, what do lesbians do on a second date?
No idea. What?
They hire a U-Haul truck. What do gay men do on a second date? What second date?
I don't... What? What does that mean?
That means that
Yeah, go on.
That means that gay women tend to get much more attached to each other sooner than gay men who...
They don't even have a second date.
Yeah, because, this is just a hookup or whatever.
Fascinating.
And,
well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Listening to the Columbo Confab podcast for your gay and lesbian jokes.
We are the GLBTQXYZ of the Columbo podcasting world.
One of my favorite lines, and I would not have if I hadn't read this, but when Columbo is talking to Ted, you hear in the background, I guess the floor assistant say, "Homeless people go home."
Pick up your vouchers.
Yep.
So they wouldn't even pay them, I guess. I wonder what the vouchers were for. Food?
I think they take the voucher to the office and then get the cash for it or check.
Oh, okay.
Just saying, I don't know. So then there's actually the restaurant scene, which I enjoyed, which may be my favorite scene, where he has to have tea with honey. This is right after... I think it's right after Fielding Chase has lunch with the actress that he's going to frame up.
Yeah, the porn star who wants to be legit. Yeah.
And I think the chemistry between Peter Falk and William Shatner is the best in that scene, because this is, they haven't just met. This is before he loses it with him and demands that he no longer be anywhere near him. That comes later on. But really, the best scene between the two of them is the workout scene, and when they're going up the vernacular, or the funicular, and Columbo implies that his daughter could be the murderer because she was one of the few people who had a key to Jerry's house but doesn't have an alibi.
Do you think Columbo actually suspected her, or do you think that was just a play to get Chase to react?
Oh, it was a total play to get Chase to react. He knew better than that. She even mentions to him at Jerry's funeral that she lost the key. She thought she lost the key the day before. And, Columbo knows that the one person with the most access to that key beside her is her father.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just total. He was, with that comment, he was poking the hive with a stick. He knew that would really get Fielding Chase's, gander up.
So we like to discuss in this podcast, when did Columbo figure it out? At one point, and you're thinking it happened when?
Oh, immediately. When he's at the crime scene.
Oh, he got shot in the back.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
There's a scene as after the restaurant, Chase is getting his car from the valet, and Columbo comes out with his one more question. And the way Chase reacts and like storms off, Columbo has a look on his face like he's intrigued. And I thought that was probably the scene where Columbo figures out that he's the killer.
I think that he had excuse me. I think that the comment with the shot in the back, I think that was maybe a strong inkling. Mm-hmm. Because Chase does come back with a good retort to that. He goes, well, I was talking to him on the phone, and if he saw someone, he would have told me. Yeah. But I think that you're right. I think that by the restaurant scene is over, he knows that it's Fielding Chase that he's got to pester.
Yeah. There was a line that Fielding says to who's he talking to? I'm trying to remember, but he says, he's saying it to his daughter, Victoria, and he says, you're the latter-day Gertrude Stein. Who the hell is Gertrude Stein?
Oh my God, I don't know you. You really don't know who Gertrude Stein is?
No, I don't.
Well, all I can tell you is that she's a writer, and she was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a revolutionary for her time. She probably did a lot of things that, women that at that time wouldn't have done. She drank and smoked a lot, I think. And she was also a lesbian. And if you ever watch the movie Midnight in Paris, she's played by Kathy Bates. I think she plays Gertrude Stein. But, yeah. I've never read anything by Gertrude Stein, so I don't know.
Well, she is. Yeah, I'm just looking her up on my phone. Yeah, she definitely looks like a man.
She had a lover named Alice B. Toklas, and I remember they made a movie called I Love You, Alice B. Toklas, and I think it was with Peter Sellers and maybe John Lennon, I think.
Fascinating. Huh.
But,
there you go. I've learned something new today.
All right. So what? Okay. So then I guess we get to the big reveal at the end, the revelation. Not a revelation because we know obviously, but the setup. And how do you feel about endings where Columbo essentially sets the murderer up somehow?
Yeah, it seems like cheating in a way.
It does. I agree.
So yeah. So the big clue. Okay, let's discuss the clues here. So the big clue is he has a cell phone. At one point during the exercise scene with Chase, we found out he doesn't get a good reception out because of the mountains. So his cell phone wouldn't, as what makes sense, would also not get a good reception out there.
Wait, pause. I want to ask you a question about this scene because there's a terrible scene, or not a scene, a shot when Vicky is getting out of her car and she drops her keys and slow motion, shot of the keys falling from her hand onto the pavement. And you're like, that's a clue. Now, the conversation that Chase has with Columbo about the fact that he uses satellite TV, when you saw this, because I know this is the second time you saw this, when you saw that, when you heard that, did you immediately think, okay, this is going to lead up to something? Or did it just seem so organic and it fit right in the conversation?
No, it felt organic to me. No, at that time I didn't. But same with the keys. Like, I remember them showing the shot of her dropping the keys, but I didn't understand what exactly that meant at that point. Because the camera lingered on that shot too much or too long. But yeah, so the problem with the cell phone not getting a reception is that if Chase had left his home to go to Jerry's home, the time he would not have been able to use his cell phone, right? And,
right.
Yeah. And the other big clue was the keys. Who had access to those keys? And apparently she didn't have them. She lost them. Mm-hmm. So those are the big giveaways for Columbo.
But the execution at the end of how he reveals to Fielding Chase that he couldn't have had cell phone reception on the way to Jerry's house is cleverly done, but extremely unrealistic. But for dramatic purposes, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
They pretend that there's these bikers with hot pants that are injured on the road. They pull over.
Yeah.
Then one of them, it's nice that they show one of them actually doing something to Fielding's car so it won't start. And so they're stuck there, and then they find out that their cell phones don't work. And that's when it's revealed. And not only that, but and I didn't remember this at all, this is one of the few episodes where at the end with the reveal, the murderer actually, in this case, kind of considers killing Columbo.
Oh, I think, no, he's decided on it. And
Yeah.
earlier in the scene that Chase sees that Columbo's not wearing a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so, now he knows that Columbo doesn't arm himself. But yeah, so he's reaching in the trunk of his car's Mercedes, I guess, and he's getting ready to pull out a rifle. And that's when, all you see is Chase's eyes, his little beady eyes, as he's talking to Columbo, and Columbo lets him know, oh, we're not alone. I may not be carrying a weapon, but we're definitely not alone. And that's when the cops come out and arrest him. And the end of this episode cracks me up because as they're hauling, they handcuff Chase and they're walking him out, and so they start working on the car, I guess, to get it operational again so they can get it out and impound it. One police officer's in the trunk, and you see him pulling out the rifle like he's getting ready to show it to Columbo, and the screen freezes. End of episode. And I'm just
Really?
thinking, what would have happened if we could just seen the end where Columbo would have realized I almost got shot?
Well, it's happened before. I'm sure he's okay.
Yeah.
He was almost shot one time. He was almost poisoned another time. It's all in a day's work for him. But yeah, I'm gonna also. I love the ending on a dramatic point because this is, to my knowledge, the only episode in which at the end we get to see the murderer literally handcuffed and walked away to the police cruiser. And they end it with this really dramatic music and just sort of like a trucking shot going up, or it's a dollar. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's the camera pulls up into a far shot of everything where you see what you said, I loved that ending. As an ending, like dramatically, it was really good.
Yeah.
Just like the one that we saw a few weeks ago with Robert Culp. That ending was pretty good dramatically too. Although for all we know, after the credits rolled, Robert Culp could have run off or punched Columbo in the face or something.
Right. So yes, that's another thing we like to do in this podcast. We like to discuss what is the likelihood that this person got a conviction. So what are your opinions? Did you think Chase got off?
I think that I don't. Okay, so I think that the jury or judge would have found him guilty, but that he would hire a really expensive lawyer who would get him off on some sort of technicality.
Yeah, I agree. So probably wouldn't have served very much. But all right, that's the end. Are you ready to review it?
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. He says to Columbo at the end, his final words to him are, Columbo, it seems that I may have underestimated you. And Columbo says, maybe you did, sir. Maybe you did. And then the police haul him off. That was really good.
You like that?
That was classy. Oh, that's classy. That was awesome.
Very cool. Okay, so I know we've got a running debate on how we should review these. Standard 1 out of 10, or I pick some random number, usually what I see in the episode. There's a phone number that was thrown out there. There were a couple of other numbers here and there in this episode that I thought I could use. It'd be fun. But I'm going to use the one that was the age of Victoria when she was adopted by Chase. And
15?
So she was 10 years old.
Oh, very good, sir. Touche, very good.
I make everybody happy. Look at that. What would you rate this out of 1 out of 10-year-old Victoria Chases?
Well, I went first last time, so you go first this time.
You're correct. This is the second time I watched this. I really enjoyed it. I don't typically like these later Columbo episodes, but this one I actually quite liked. There wasn't any of that artistic crap that seems to be prevalent in these later ones. Like with the scene will go to like a dreamscape with the one with the artist, which
with Barcini. Yeah.
Barcini, that kind of. I just don't like that. I don't think that fits in Columbo, but this one's really good. I thought William Shatner was a great baddie. He just seems so evil. He's just such a. You wanted to see him fail, but the title a little weird. But I guess if I had to give it a score 1 out of 10, I would say probably give it an 8.5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I could watch it again right now.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
All right. Wow. Okay, so I really, really like this episode. I think it may be in my top 5 of all time. Maybe top 7. I don't know. There is another 90s episode that I like better than this, but as far as 90s episodes go, it's up there. I mean, it's a really good piece of work. Everything from the relationship with Fielding Chase and his daughter, which is just an icky, disgusting thing. He's such a fucking pig.
Oh yeah, there's scenes where like he caresses her face and just a lot of really creepy scenes there.
We've got really good clues. I love clues. The only thing that I loved the ending, as I just said a little while ago. The only thing that rubbed me the wrong way that I didn't understand is that if someone is behind you in your house in the next room and they're talking on the phone.
Yes.
Wouldn't you hear them? Wouldn't Jerry be like, what are you doing here? Or isn't there's always that echo? We don't have this anymore, but when I was little, if my mom or dad was on the extension phone, there would be like an echo. That's the only thing where it kind of falls apart. But other than that, it was pretty damn perfect. So I am actually going to give it. I could watch it again. I've watched it twice for this. I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna go with what you said 8.5. I'll go with 8.
That's a solid
I almost said 9. Yeah, I almost said 9. Fuck no, I'll say 9. 9. I'll give it a 9.
All right.
This is pretty much perfect Columbo. It ticks off all the boxes. Asshole murderer. We've got lots of Columbo-isms. Not that many, but we've got great chemistry.
Got the rifting at the beginning.
Yeah. It's a pretty good solid murder mystery. It's really good.
So we really like it. Highly recommend it from this group of guys here, ladies and gentlemen. Go see it. Which you probably already have. So disregard.
From this group of guys, like there's 4 of us. We've been liking the ones that we've seen. I think that's 4 for 4 that we liked in a row now. Well, before we spin the swinging wheel of the 70s, shall we read the beautiful feedback that we got?
Yes.
Okay. So we got one email, and this is from Charlize. And Charlize says, "Hi, Sean and Steve. I have been listening to your podcast from the beginning, and I just love it. You guys are great and funny. I am an avid listener to the other Columbo podcasts out there, but the two of you have such a great comment that it shows. You guys have such a great comment that shows." That was a typo. I don't know what she meant to say. "I enjoy the unique rating system you guys do, and I hope you keep it up and not just do a 1 to 10 rating or just do both." "I also believe that Columbo's wife is real." Ha! "I work in a corporate office and talk about my husband all the time, and yet none of my coworkers have actually seen him. So does that mean I'm not married? No. It just means work is work and my personal life is my own. There are too many examples of the wife existing, for instance, her calling Columbo on the phone. I forgot what episode it is, but she tells him and she calls him and he's at a murder scene and he tells her he'll bring home Chinese food. Okay, I know which episode she's talking about. It's Exercise and Fatality. And to be fair,
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, he calls her And she's talking to him about dinner plans, and a bunch of people are coming over, and he says that he'll get Chinese food. But also the troubled water. Okay, this is a better point. This is excellent, Steve. Listen to this.
This is the cruise one?
The Troubled Waters episode, where the ship crew member states that he saw Mrs. Columbo leaving the ship. This is a true thing.
Well, no. I can argue this. Hold on. So, how does he know what Mrs. Columbo is going to look like? He probably saw some woman like with gray curls, wearing a trench coat, walking through, and said, "Oh, that's got to be Mrs. Columbo." Who else could that person be married to?
She says there are many examples, and I think the non-believers really try and stretch explanations and why his wife wouldn't be real. You, sir, you, Steve, are a non-believer.
I am. And I think
Die, heretic.
I think it's funny that I didn't know that there were a group of people who believed that Mrs. Columbo wasn't real until you brought it up after my mentioning of my opinion. So I think it's great that there are other people out there who obviously see this.
Yeah, there's also other people that believe the earth is flat. But I think that you just enjoy just being a contrarian and saying that she's not real, but just saying. Instead of realizing it's just a gag in the show and that she doesn't appear in an episode. Oh, I'm sorry. They try to stretch explanations on why his wife wouldn't be real instead of realizing it's just a gag on the show, but she doesn't appear in an episode. Anyway, I love your show, and I hope you guys continue, and let me know the other podcasts you do. I think you mentioned the other podcast before, but I didn't catch the title of it. Okay, so the other podcast that we do is called The TARDIS Tavern. And what's really interesting is that I've been having conversations with folks on Twitter. Not huge conversations, but there's two gentlemen in particular. And forgive me, I don't know your real name, but Nerd Tech. He actually did not know that we had a podcast called The TARDIS Tavern. And he likes Doctor Who and heard this podcast first, and now he's downloading episodes of the TARDIS Tavern.
Wow. I thought it was the completely other way around. I thought people from the Doctor Who podcast would be tuning in to hear us on this. Not
exactly.
Opposite. Interesting.
And in fact, I do fear sometimes that a lot of the people that are downloading it only download it because of the TARDIS Tavern, but because if you look at when you look at the iTunes, it's not the Apple Podcast app. It's not iTunes anymore. It says other shows you may like, and then they list like 3 or 4 other podcasts, including the other 2 Columbo podcasts, and then they list 3 or 4 Doctor Who podcasts, and I'm like, get the freaking Doctor Who out of here! I don't want Doctor Who to be associated with this. But they do list TARDIS Tavern. Interestingly enough, that's not the first Doctor Who podcast listed, but okay. And also, we got some very nice feedback on some new feedback. And I'm sorry if I... Yeah, okay, we got 2 of them. One of them is a gentleman that I've been talking to on Twitter, who is a Mrs. Columbo believer, by the way. He says, Steve and Sean are a comedic pair on the topic of Columbo. I have heard all of their podcasts up to and including The Greenhouse Jungle, and this far has been entertaining. I find myself wanting to interject on some point, like a call-in that Columbo did on Joe Devlin's radio interview, without the embarrassment that Fielding Chase does. Interesting, almost topical. Listening to these guys allowed the listener to think of other Columbo episodes. With the last podcast, all I can think of is 2 stars and a bottle of champagne from Hugh Crichton's beverage fridge. That's a reference to something we didn't cover. That's a reference to the Dabney Coleman episode. Keep up the great work, guys. I will be listening and commenting on Twitter because there is always just one more thing. And I happen to know this gentleman's name is John. He goes by Erasure Smile on Twitter, and we've been having... There's one more! One other gentleman left a... I say gentleman because I happen to know. The name is Sundial Photography. And I just want to say that if you ever need your photography needs fulfilled, please call Sundial Photography. Says, I have listened for years to the TARDIS Tavern, and I really enjoy hearing their take on Columbo.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, you can go to bed tonight feeling special, Steve.
I will. I'll dream about
But
puppy
before-
dogs and, I don't know, ice cream
And Columbo.
in Columbo.
things that have gone together in Columbo in the past. I believe there is an episode with Columbo feeding his dog ice cream.
Well, I know there's definitely ice cream, but I can't remember that one. Okay. Yeah.
All right. With that, Steve,
Uh-huh.
It's time to find out what our last story for Season 3 of the podcast will be. So without further ado, please take a spin of the swinging wheel of the 70s.
Okay.
And we will be watching... We will be watching a Patrick McGoohan episode called Identity Crisis. Identity Crisis.
So does this have anything to do with Equifax?
Don't think so.
Oh.
But you know who Patrick McGoohan... You don't know who Patrick McGoohan is, that's right. Well,
A name sounds familiar, but no, I can't.
Yeah, this is going to be... He's done more Columbos than any other murderer. I think he's done 4. 2 in the 70s and 2 in the 90s. Also produced and directed a number of them. So this is probably... I'm not going to say anything about it, but if you want to know something, you know who else is in it? Leslie Nielsen plays the victim. Yes.
Oh, wow. Sounds great.
So,
looking forward to it.
I just don't think that Leslie Nielsen should be in anything where he gets hit over the head with a crowbar.
Don't ruin it for me.
It's Columbo. It happens in like the first 10 minutes.
All
Also,
right.
I know you like belly dancers, right? Do you like belly dancers?
Who does?
Oh, wow. Belly dancers, my friend. Belly dancers.
All right, Sean, until next time.
All right, until next time, we will awkwardly bid adieu. And good night, everybody!
Ta-ta.
Hello, I'm Sean, and I'm the host of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Each episode, I randomly pick a film from the book and spend about 10 minutes talking about its director, the cast, the genre, and my personal thoughts on the merits of the film. Each delicious yet bite-sized episode contains information about a film from practically any genre, any country, or any year. Check us out on iTunes, and we'll send you free cookies. Some restrictions apply.